Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Huckabee, and welcome to Conversations with Nicole. We're talking to Derrick Jakolby Washington, aka Uncle Kolby, in this bonus episode of Conversations with Nicole in honor of Black History Month. Derrick created Storytime with Uncle Kolby, a new YouTube series. He is also the author of two children's books, A Special Little Girl and Son, You Matter. I really hope you enjoy our conversation today. Let's get started. Everyone, welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am delighted to have as my guest today Derrick Jakolby Washington, aka Uncle Kolby. It's good to see you. This is a bonus episode of Conversations with Nicole in honor of Black History Month. I'm delighted to have you as my guest. You have a YouTube series and you also have two children's books. So why don't you start off a little bit telling my audience about yourself?
Sure. Again, thank you so much, Nicole, for the opportunity to chat with you today and to share a little bit of what I'm up to. Well, again, my name is Derrick Jakolby Washington. I am currently residing in the D.C. area, but originally from Gainesville, Florida. I always love to plug Florida and to plug my hometown. I love it there. My family still resides there. And a lot of what I do now stems from my upbringing in Gainesville. And so any opportunity that I get to shout them out, I will do just that. But I am now a children's book author, but I come from a social work, human services background. So moved to the DC area to pursue graduate studies. So I actually graduated with an MSW from Howard University here, and then began my professional career primarily in the fields of social work and human services, really working with those that I like to say have been historically forgotten. So individuals that might be underemployed or unemployed, and helping to provide equitable opportunities for them to move into livable wage employment opportunities. And so I share that because I don't have the traditional author's journey. I did not set out to become a children's book author, but it was something that kind of manifested itself back in 2020. And here I am in this space, loving it. I feel like it is absolutely a calling of mine, and have been working in the children's book realm since, again, 2020. So again, super excited to speak with you today.
I love that. I love that when you find a purpose and then you have the passion behind it, they just go hand in hand. And when you're able to do things that bring you joy, and it also sounds like for you and for how I feel in life, that make a difference, that
Yes.
create change, that create awareness, that give people a voice that often don't have a voice.
Yes.
I feel like that's part of my calling. I hear that with you too, I believe as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel incredibly fortunate to again carry this message of equity across realms. So not just in race, but also in I'm a strong advocate for those in the disability space as well. And so yeah, really fortunate to be used this way.
I love that. So let's start with being an author. In your two books, you have A Special Little Girl and Son, You Matter. Share how
Yes.
both of those came about.
Absolutely. So, Sunny Matter was my first book. I am incredibly proud of both of those books, but Sunny Matter certainly has a special place in my heart. And I share that because, like I said, I did not set out to become a children's book author, to become an author, let alone a children's book author. But it's something that kind of stemmed from the George Floyd killing back in 2020. Something that was senseless. Of course, we were in the height of the pandemic during that time. Most of the world was shut down, and so here I was working from home, and then George Floyd happens, and so I, like so many others, sat down and really tried to reconcile my feelings behind that ordeal. I think prior to that, maybe 6 months actually prior to that, my nephew was born, and really. I sat down the day after that incident happened with George Floyd and really began to think about what would life look like for my nephew in the next 15 to 20 years or so. Will he live in a society that only judges him based on the color of his skin, or will the world be able to embrace him as a whole person and all that he has to serve this world, all of the greatness, all of the skills, all of the talents and abilities that he will be able to bring to the world. And so really began to think about that thing and sat down and kind of just pinned my thoughts around it. And it turned into a poem. And so the very next day I read it to my sister, and she said, "You absolutely need to turn this into a children's book." And I'm like, I don't know about that. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I read it to a few other friends, and they actually confirmed what she said. And so I was fortunate enough to have a couple of friends that have written books, and they connected me to their publisher. I put a Facebook post on, I think on a post on Facebook later on that week, asking if there were any authors of color that were interested in partnering with me, and linked up with my good friend India Shayna, who's based out of North Carolina. She actually illustrated both of my books, and really the rest is history. The book was written, illustrated and published and released in less than 30 days, which is really unheard of in that space. I did not have a marketing strategy, marketing plan, or anything, but the book kind of just took off. We got a lot of national press. One of the major highlights was attorney Ben Crump, who was the attorney for the Floyd family, got caught wind of an interview I had done with the local news station, and he began to promote the book from his social media page. Michael Jackson's son, Prince Jackson, caught wind of the book, and he actually allowed us to take over his social media for a day to really push the message. And so yeah, lots of great opportunities that stemmed from that first book, and are still actually manifesting themselves here now, 24 years later, if you will. So excited about that. And then my second book, A Special Little Girl, was written last year in October, and it stemmed from an ordeal or incident that I encountered with my niece. So my niece Zion was diagnosed with autism at the age of 4. She's 11 now, and I went home to visit her in Florida, which is not something that that is just sporadic. We do that a couple of times a year. And so attended a gymnastics class with her, where at the end of that class, I observed the instructor award every student with an award except my niece. And so it really broke my heart. And what made matters worse is that when we got home, my niece was not, she's certainly verbal, but she's not able to articulate her emotions. And so oftentimes she communicates, if she's feeling a certain kind of way, she communicates through like a cartoon or a video. And so my niece, when we got home, began to replay a cartoon over and over again, which essentially talked about how bad it feels to be left out. And so that broke my heart, so much so that I ended up staying up the majority of that evening, really researching organizations that center around working with children with autism or IDD, but more specifically children of color, and found that there weren't many organizations that existed like that. But more than just the research, I wanted to write an affirmation to my niece and all little kids that learn differently, to let them know that they are seen, valued, and loved. And essentially a special little girl was birthed from that experience.
And she is a special little girl, no doubt.
Indeed, she is. She brings my family so much joy. And so for her to have to deal with that, like I said, it just broke my heart.
Well, I know your niece and your nephew probably do feel the love and feel very special knowing their uncle did that for them, right?
Yeah, I believe so. She's been on billboards in Times Square now. She's done so much press. Her message has been just shot out all across this country and even the world. I did an interview not a few probably a few weeks ago about this book, and they were based in the UK, and so her message is being broadcasted all across this world.
You'll have to relate to her how famous she is
I
worldwide. She will love that.
I will.
So that leads me to what you're doing now. You also have a YouTube series. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so from my love of writing children's books and really being in this space, I started a YouTube series called Story Time with Uncle Kolby. It airs every Monday night at 7 p.m. On my YouTube channel. It's at I am D Jakolby. But it is a series. I love to tell people that it's reading rainbow esque. So those of you that
I
remember the
remember
Walt
reading
Whitman
Rainbow.
and Reading Rainbow, it is very similar to that format, but a more modern format, of course. But we highlight a number of different diverse authors of color and the books that they've written that really affirm children. And so it's brought me so much joy. I've encountered a number of different either self-published or independent authors that really aren't afforded the opportunity to really promote their books. And so I did actually we just recorded our second season, and our first episode aired last week. And I did a contest where authors of color from all across this country shared their books. We received well over 100 submissions of books, where we were able to choose at least 10 of those books to highlight on our episodes. And so this season we'll highlight a number of those books that we chose. But it is a wonderful, wonderful YouTube series. There are cartoons added into the series, or into the episodes rather, that really highlight the central themes that we try to bring out in each episode. And so we're teaching children how to be leaders, how to be courageous in the face of fear, whether it is a fear of a monster under their bed or whatever it is. Like we're teaching kids how to affirm themselves. And so we highlight a wonderful book that talks about being affirmed using the alphabet. And so it takes each letter of the alphabet, each letter is used to really highlight an affirmation for that young person. And so it's a wonderful, wonderful series that I'd encourage everyone to check out on Monday nights at 7.
I love that. I love everything about that. It's just wonderful. You know what? It's not just good for kids to hear that. That's good for adults to hear too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what's next for you? What's on the horizon?
Well, so in addition to the story time and, of course, my work as an author, one of the things that stemmed from writing A Special Little Girl was my nonprofit. So we launched a nonprofit called Friends of Zion, of course, named after my niece Zion, that focuses on conducting research and providing resources to children of color that have been diagnosed with autism or other neurodivergent disorders. And so I really want to shed light in that space, because oftentimes children of color don't have the access that many others may have. And so yeah, we've been doing a lot with that organization. So you can find information if you're interested at Friends of Zion. Zion is spelled ZYION.org. And we're partnering with a number of different workforce organizations, because again, that is a cause that's near and dear to my heart, around really providing equitable access to employment for individuals with autism in the workforce. And so yeah, really excited about that organization. Also working on a third children's book that I am excited about. I don't want to share too much because there are just a number of different ideas floating around in my head. But yeah, hopefully we will be releasing that this summer.
Well, this has just been delightful. I love all that you're doing and all the wonderful things you're putting out into the world. You are obviously extremely talented to write children's books. I love that. I always enjoyed reading the children's books to my kids when they were little. They're adults now and doing
Mhm.
their own thing, but reading to my children was one of my most favorite things that I did with them, even
Mhm.
before they were born,
Mhm.
and so it's just so empowering on them with their everything about them,
Yeah,
their education when it comes to emotional, intellectual stimulation, all of that. Reading is just where it's at. And so thank
absolutely.
you for writing these books, and the YouTube series sounds wonderful.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best. So before we close, though, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Absolutely. So thank you again for the opportunity. You can connect with me on Instagram. I'm at D Jakolby, Jakolby. Or you can connect with me on our Facebook. It's Derrick Jakolby Washington. And of course, you can check out our website, which has information about my work as an author, as well as information about our Storytime series and Friends of Zion. And that website is djacobywashington.com.
Perfect. Well, I'm excited to share your story with my audience. I want to thank you again for being my guest today, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. Have a great day.
Absolutely. You too. And that will do it for this edition of Conversations with Nicole. Until I see you again, I hope you have a great day.